You are listening to the Maple Footy Podcast, the unofficial football podcast of the North. I'm your host, Sam Little. Find me on socials at SamLittle44 and the podcast at Maple Footy Pod. And now there's nothing left to say except for sit back, enjoy, and welcome to the show.
Hello and welcome back to the Maple Footy Podcast. And today we are discussing Canada's final, our final international match of the year. So we have now come to the end of our 2025 windows, which is kind of sucks because these are my favorite things to get to do on Maple Footy. But now it's all eyes on 2026. As I did last year, I will, at the end of this year, start of next year, I will be releasing my year wrapped for Canada. So stay tuned for that. That'll be really fun. We're going to do it how we did it last time. Going to be an extra long episode. Just go through some of the best and some of the worst things for Canadian football. And it'll be a lot of fun. What wasn't fun was that match that I just watched against Venezuela. I know we have international windows between now and the World Cup still. This is our lasting impression until those. It don't make me confident for this upcoming World Cup. Despite winning, this was our lesser performance of the two from this international break, I thought. And one of our lesser ones over the last couple windows, even some of our other performances over the other international breaks, some of them were actually decent, and we lost. Even the Australia game, I thought we played better that time out than this time. We looked super dull. We looked lethargic, and they just didn't really look all that interested. And I think it comes down to, I was making the joke that my buddy had made when we saw the game of Canada needs to be the underdogs for us to look good, and we're not the underdogs in this game, so maybe that's why we're not playing well. And I was watching this game with my dad against Venezuela, and he literally says, well, we play up and down to our competition, and I don't think that's inaccurate. So I think it's concerning going into this World Cup. I think we have shown that we can hang for sure. There are still positive things to take from our team as a whole. But then there's also things that I really am concerned about heading into this World Cup. We'll start off with the pros, then we'll move into cons, then we'll do the player by player and whatnot, and as we always do. So we will, pros. Well, we won, so that's nice. It was, as I said, pretty uneventful, uninspired, pretty lethargic, but at least they won, so that is definitely good. I'm not going to complain about a victory. I'll complain about the things in the victory, but the victory itself, that 2-0 scoreline, I will still probably complain about because we were extremely wasteful, but I'll get to that in the cons in just a minute. Another pro is we kept a clean sheet. I thought that was good. Not that we were ever super tested until the last minute where Venezuela had their best chance of the game. Maxime Crepeau makes a great save. And outside of that, not a whole ton to worry about. But yeah, I'm really thinking of other pros. I don't have many. Moving into cons, another player sent off. And yes, I know, I don't think it was a red card. I don't. You probably don't, listening to this. Maybe you did, and that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. But my issue is it's another window where we get another sending off. And this one, it's the exact same, in my opinion, basically. To the Ali Ahmed one, but my issue is you just saw Ali Ahmed get sent off for this, a player of Kone's experience, of how many times he's played for the national team, how many times he's played at club level. You need to be, I think, more turned on and more alert to the fact that you can't just be looking a studs up high boot because you're putting yourself in that position. Did he touch the Venezuelan guy? It didn't look like it, no. But that's not the point. You know that guy's going to go down anyways, right? You know that your teammate last game got sent off for basically the same thing, and yet you do it here when you're a man up at the time. It's very frustrating, I think, because it's these little things that will cost you in the World Cup. And that's what I think it comes back to. All these little things, as One Direction once said. I bet you weren't expecting One Direction reference on the Maple Footy podcast today. But it's the little things that add up. Our missed chances, looking creatively stagnant, these little mistakes of getting sent off, stuff like that, it costs you, especially coming into a World Cup. If you're playing against one of the big boys, quote unquote, they're going to make you pay. Like, they just will. Even if you're 1-0 up, you're probably going to go a man down and you're probably going to concede. Like, let's be honest here. It's how it works. It's just football fundamentals. It's the basics. A good team with a man advantage is going to make you pay. So if we do this in the World Cup, we're cooked. Like, as simple as that. And for lack of a better term, like, we're cooked. And I think that's what really frustrates me most is these fundamentals and it's not just young players. It's, Kone, I know he's like age-wise, he's pretty young, but this is his second World Cup cycle now. He's been around. Ali Ahmed is 25 years old. He's been around. Like, Jesse Marsch himself has been sent off for us in the past and has been flirting with being sent off since being sent off. Like, you need to know better. Like, you just have to know better. I'm sorry, you do. And I think that's what really irritates me. And then moving into missed chances, not that we had clear-cut chances on the day, but I think not making teams pay when we should. Eustáquio put in, by my count, 3 very nice free kicks, and not one was taken. So yeah, but it by no means was there, that was a missed sitter. But there should have been someone to turn those in every single time, and there was nobody. And that's another concern is, where are our goals and creativity coming from? I said this in either the last podcast or when I did the team analysis. Where are the goals and the creativity going to come from? We can't just rely on moments of magic to get us out of these things. We need guys that we can rely on. For a long time, that's been Jonathan David. Right now, Jonathan David's in a slump. Okay, who's stepping up? Not really anybody. Like, our attack looks pretty lackluster. When we get chances like an Eustáquio free kick, we don't make a team pay. Our other striker is a whole different thing. I will get into Tanny and our striking issues as a whole once we kind of do the player-by-player breakdowns. Just because I'm very concerned going into this World Cup for our attack and our strikers and our creative prowess, I suppose. I'm getting concerned. So how about we cut this con before I continue to rant, because I feel like I've ranted and rambled a little bit. We're going to move into the player-by-player, and it might be a quick one, to be honest with you, because I don't have much to say about a lot of these performances. And I know, the way I'm talking, you would think that we just lost 2-0. We did, in fact, win, but I think that sometimes a scoreline really paints over the fact that we didn't look great. And I gave us our flowers against Ecuador. I forgot who we played for a second. And we didn't win that game. We drew that game. But I thought the performance, the grit, the determination, the character shown, I thought it was great. And yeah, sometimes I think a performance speaks louder than a result. In this case, I think that is also the case, but in a different way. This performance spoke louder than the result, not in a good way. Whereas last game, I think our performance spoke louder than the result, i.e. not a win, but played really well under the circumstances. This game, it was a win, yay, but we didn't play well at all, in my humble opinion. And that's what you listen to me for my humble opinions, I guess. But yeah, we will actually now properly go into the player-by-player, because once again, I just started to rant and ramble. Maxime Crepeau. I'm glad he got his clean sheet. He well deserves it. The Canadian Buffon, he I thought his distribution was quite good, and I think if we maybe had like attackers and strikers that were in form, maybe those would have amounted to something. Because there was a couple times where he sprayed these beautiful drop kicks up to like Oluwaseyi or David, and nothing amounted to them. But I think if we actually had guys that were in form, like an informed Jonathan David might make you pay there. Wasn't the case, of course. But yeah, and then he was switched on at the end there, grabbed the save. It wasn't his busiest afternoon. I'm not going to make it seem like it was. But from what we saw, I thought he looked steady. I thought he looked good. As you well know, if you've been a listener, he would be my starting goalkeeper going into the World Cup. Nothing against Dane St. Clair. I just think Maxime Crepeau, he just suits the system better. I think the guys in front of him, they seem to trust him a bit more. So yeah, I mean, if you think Dane St. Clair, I think that's fine. But yeah, for me, still Crepeau. Even after this international window, I'm still going Crepeau, and that's another thing. How do we not have a number one sorted? I'm sorry. I know we have two good goalkeepers right now. You as a coach, I think you need to make the hard choice and just go, you're going to be our number one if you're healthy coming into this World Cup, because now you need, we keep on saying about these friendly windows. Here I go on another tangent. We keep on saying about these friendly windows and how we want to, use them to basically practice and trial for the World Cup and whatnot. But we still don't even have a number one sorted. Like, we don't have a number one sorted. You need to sort it out, whether it's Crepeau or whether it's St. Clair. I think you need to pick one at this point. We're just over 200 days out from the World Cup. I believe on commentary they said 205 days until Canada is playing in the World Cup. We still don't know who our number one is. That's bad, man. Like, that's bad. Like, look at every other nation. If goalkeepers are healthy, who their goalkeeper are. Brazil, who's their goalkeeper? Alisson. Italy, who's their goalkeeper? Donnarumma. Germany, for 20,000 years, Manuel Neuer. The list goes on and on and on of, top nations having goalkeepers set in stone number ones. We don't have that, man. We don't. So whether you want it to be St. Clair or Crepeau, at this point it's fine. Make the decision, let them play, rack up the caps, rack up the confidence, and rack up the gel, between your goalkeeper and your defense. That's what I think. If this is how you quote unquote want to treat your international windows, then that's what you got to do. I've long been saying, why not give the third goalkeepers a shot? That ship has obviously sailed. We're not looking at Owen Goodman, James Pantemis, even a Jonathan Surhois, Jaden Hibbert, and those are just some of the third choice goalkeepers I've had in recent memory off the top of my head. I know we've had others, but I've long said, give them a chance. What Crepeau and St. Clair can do. And I still think because that's how I think we should be using these friendly windows anyways. But if you're saying, we're using this as World Cup warm-up, then choose your goalkeeper, stick with your goalkeeper, and play them until we get to the World Cup, of course, barring injury. My opinion. Sorry, I keep on ranting here. As I said, you would think that we lost this game. We did not. We won, guys. But I guess just frustrations, Another frustration, moving into the defense. Why was Derek Cornelius playing? It feels like we're doing this every single time to ourselves. Remember all the injuries that we've had with guys coming into camps and they've had injuries and whatnot, and then we play them, i.e. Alphonso Davies, all the way back in March. Why are we playing these guys? Why? This is a friendly. Why are you playing them? Give Joel Waterman the run out. Give Kamal Miller the run out. Do we have any other center backs on the bench? I don't think so. If we did, give them the run out, give these guys the run out and spare Derek Cornelius so he can finish this year healthy. But now for the rest of the year, he's probably going to be nursing this injury, whatever it is, because he came into this camp with a knock and you didn't just send him home, or you didn't just keep him on the bench and not play him, but just have him here, whatever. And now it's another guy that's been leaving a Canada camp, going to be with an injury that's kind of on our... Once again, I don't want to point fingers at the medical staff because I also don't know the inner workings and whatnot, but I just think you have a guy coming into a camp who got a knock in his previous club level game, coming into this camp, and then you play him in this friendly. Why are you risking it? Why are you risking the run out? Why are you risking making an injury worse. Once again, I'm not in these conversations. I'm not a trained professional. I don't have a degree in this. So, I obviously don't know. I'm just someone with a microphone. I don't know these inner workings. But what I am noticing are patterns in bringing guys that aren't fully healthy and then them getting injured and leaving games. That is what I'm noticing. So, I don't know. I think something really needs to be done, and I think really needs to be evaluated here for the team in general. So yeah, not really much to say on Cornelius outside of that. He didn't really have a whole ton to do. His center back partner on the day, Alfie Jones, making his men's national team debut. I thought he looked decent. I don't think anybody on the day looked great, but I thought Jones was one of the stronger guys out there. You could tell that he was ready to make an impression. He was really trying to win as many balls as he could. He was pretty high up, pushing high up at multiple points in the match to win the ball kind of higher upfield, which I think is a good thing. I didn't see anything in him that we don't already have in other center backs, is kind of my thing. But, it was his first cap. It was his first game. We'll see how it plays out, and we'll go from there. Fullbacks, Nico Seeger, once again, not a whole ton to do. He looked good moving up. He put in a great ball for Promise David, a goal that was probably, if there was VAR, probably would have been offside, but we won't talk about it. But yeah, I think outside of that, I can't really even think of many defensive contributions he had to really make. He was pretty well untested for most of the day. He was getting up the pitch. I know I say every episode, I still want to see him implemented in the center of the park. I would love to see what he can do up there. You can see how much more comfortable he is when he kind of pushes up, especially into the center pocket kind of thing. But we won't have that conversation today because I feel like I've already been ranting and there's probably more rants to come. Left back, Richie Larea, once again, I thought he was solid. He put in a good few hard tackles on the day as well, which was great. He's definitely making Jesse Marsch going to have a decision to make come the World Cup, because Richard Larea is looking really good, and if Alphonso Davies is healthy come the World Cup, I think there's going to be a lot of decisions need to be made around that left back position. Will Alphonso Davies be starting? Will Larea play right back per se? Maybe an Alistair Johnston isn't fully fit. Will Davies, and I hate this debate, but will Davies play as a left mid / left winger? I think that's the wrong choice, but that is definitely a choice and a conversation that has been had many times over the last few months. But another conversation we will not have here because I don't need to go off on another rant. But yeah, anyways, Richard Larea looked really good. Probably another man of the match performance here, I would say. Not that I think he was phenomenal, but just kind of trying to analyze the rest of the guys, there wasn't really anybody else that really stuck out either. Yeah, I guess I'll say Richard Larea, my man of the match. That's pretty unconvincing. But yeah, I do think he looked good. He put in a couple hard tackles. It was a standard Larea performance where he was really winding guys up, looked good, looked solid defensively, looked solid going forward. So yeah, we'll move on to the midfield. And this is where more disappointment creeps in. Oh, gee whiz. We're going to start off with the positive, Stefan Eustáquio. I thought he looked good. I don't think this was on par with some of his recent performances for the men's national team, but I thought he looked good. He had a couple of wayward passes here and there, but none more than 2 that I can really think of off the top of my head that were quite bad. His stats are reading they had 22 of 31 completed passes, but off the top of my head, I can really only think of the one that was a real bad pass. Like he just kind of hoofed into the middle of the pitch and it landed at a Venezuelan's feet. But yeah, it wasn't his best, especially given the standard that he's been playing at recently for us. But I don't think he was bad, and he was definitely the best of the remaining guys that I'm going to talk about. So there's that. His partner, Kone, I thought he really wasn't that great. I think he really lacked an influence on the game. He does leave the game with the goal, and thankfully ended our goal drought. After, was it 340 minutes or something like that of play? So that's good that we got a goal. This wasn't his greatest performance. I think the red card's really damning as well. Like, not that I think it was a red, but once again, he put himself in a really bad position, especially knowing everything he knows from the Ali Ahmed one. I think it's really poor decision making from Ishmael Kone. And I think it's just kind of disappointing to see that. And for him to kind of end his international year like that, I think it's quite disappointing. But yeah, he lacked any of the real, like, Kone-isms that you coining that phrase, that you really come to expect from him. He really wasn't finding much joy in carrying the ball. He wasn't really dropping back a whole ton. He probably could have left the pitch with another goal. Eustachio put one on a plate for him, and he didn't deliver. So yeah, man, like, it was good to see him get a goal, but that's really where his performance peaked. And it was a stark peak compared to kind of the rest of his performance, which I thought was a little bit disappointing. Tajon Buchanan, another extremely disappointing performance here. Another guy that probably could be leaving the pitch with another goal or two. He had a half chance early in the first half that was from a bit of a long way out, made the keeper work. Okay, fair enough. And then there was another chance that Jonathan David played him through. Tajon takes an extra touch that he probably shouldn't have taken. By then, defenders are closing him down, and then he blasts the ball over the net. You need to score there, especially a player of his capabilities and experience. You expect him to find the back of the net there, in my opinion, especially seeing what he's done with Villarreal this calendar year, what he's done with Canada this calendar year. He's been he'd be up there for one of my Canadian men's players of the year. So you expect more from him in a scenario like that. Outside of that, he really didn't get on the ball a whole ton, not enough to make any real statement on the game. And yeah, that's really about all I have to say for Tajon. A disappointing evening as well for him. Jaden Nelson here. A bit disappointing here because I really wanted to see what he could do with the men's national team. As you know, if you've listened to the podcast, I think he's had a great season so far and have been asking Jesse Marsch to play him more than what he's been given. And it happened here. I thought of the kind of front four that we had, he looked the most up for it. He looked like, a little bit dangerous on the ball here and there. He didn't get on the ball much, in all fairness, either. And anytime he did, you kind of felt like, okay, maybe he might craft something. There's a nice interplay between him and Larea during the first half as well, which I really liked. But yeah, just not really involved enough. I would like to see him still involved more. And with him, I cut him a little bit of slack just because he hasn't really played a whole ton with this group. Even when he has been playing with this group, it's been in cameos for the most part. So I still want to see more from Jay Nelson, see what he can do. He's the one I'm cutting the most slack for, I think, on the day, because I don't think he was terrible. As I said, I think, he wasn't super involved. When he was involved, he looked decent. Like, maybe he was up for it. Maybe something could happen. But that also could just be my bias for Jay Nelson coming through. But in all fairness, I'm biased for most of these guys. And I haven't really held back. So, yeah, we'll move on to the strikers. And I think this is where if you want to call it an interesting conversation takes place. I'm not sure it's an interesting conversation. I think it's a frightening conversation. Our strikers look lost right now. They just do. Jonathan David, he does not look like the Jonathan David that he has for quite some time, in all fairness. But at least with Canada, he usually looks very good. Even if he's not scoring, he's doing other things, but he feels so isolated right now. He's not really linking up play. Him and Tani Oluwaseyi do not link up well together at all. Every time they play together, it looks like it's their first time playing. This was Joel Waterman's first time playing with Alfie Jones. He looked more comfortable playing alongside his partner than up at the top of the pitch, where our two strikers have played together on a number of occasions. our two center backs who've never played together before looked more comfortable than our two strikers that have played together before. And I think that's pretty telling. There just does not seem to be any chemistry there between these two. They seem to always be on different wavelengths. They don't complement each other's game at all, in my opinion. Tanny is a runner. He's a presser, and we'll get into that, don't worry, because those are modern football terms that really irritate me. And Jonathan David is like, he can link play, he can score. He's like a 10 and 9 combined in a sense. He likes to drop back, but he likes to push forward. He likes to link play, but he likes to be at the end of stuff. Like, he's a player that can really has a deep bag, and he does not link up well here with Oluwaseyi at all, and they really have not. And I think it's frightening that this is probably gonna, if they're both healthy, this is probably gonna be our striker duo come the World Cup, which I think is not a good call at all. At all. These guys, they don't look good together, in my opinion. So yeah, Jonathan David, not good on the day. His partner, Oluwaseyi, he is the modern striker, right? He is. And by that, I mean, you use words like running the channels and pressing, and, he's finding space up in the 18-yard box. Oh, he probably should have done better with that chance, and he leaves the game without a goal. That's the modern striker. Think of, your Darwin Nunez's, your Victor Gyökeres, with Arsenal at least. I know with Sporting he had been scoring, but with Arsenal right now, your Timo Werner's at Chelsea, your Kai Havertz's, they're like the modern strikers, and that's kind of the camp I put Tanny Oluwaseyi in. He's probably not going to score, but he's going to run around a lot at least. If that's what you're looking for in a striker, then fair. What I look for in a striker is, are they kind of like a Jonathan David? Like, I've always compared Jonathan David to similar, not in stature of player, but in style of player, as a Harry Kane. He kind of reminds me of Harry Kane, where, he does more than just score and whatnot, which is very, very good. Or on the flip side of that, I look for a striker who's just straight up, he's just going to score. Yeah, he might not do literally anything else. Like, he just stands in a 6-yard box and he scores. Okay, cool. He scores. There you go. That's what a striker's paid to do. Score the goals. Tanny Oluwaseyi, for club, he scores. With Minnesota, he had 18 goal contributions, 10 goals, 8 assists, leaving Minnesota. And that's just MLS. I don't believe that's all competitions. And then with Villarreal right now, I think he's sitting at 4 goals and assists all competitions, or 5, something like that. So this calendar year, man is pushing like, what would that be? Mid-20s in goals just in MLS, and then with Villarreal. And yet, when it comes to Canada, he can't score, and he really is pretty well a non-factor. Like, yeah, okay, he runs, and he kind of stretches the defensive line, maybe. But my concern is we're going into a World Cup. Jonathan David, our number one striker, our guy, in an attacking sense, is out of form currently. You hope that he can turn around, because he has before. Remember, I will remind everybody, when he went to Lille the first, all those, would that have been 5 years ago? Whenever it was. He had a very slow start to life there, and then he put it together. So maybe that's the case here at Juventus. Maybe he just needs to settle in. He's going to put it together, and we'll be fine come the World Cup. I don't think Tanny is putting it together in time for the World Cup, at least, for the national team, in my opinion. And I could be wrong. I don't know. I would love for him to prove me wrong. 100%. Please prove me wrong. I would love to be proven wrong. I just find when he's playing, he's a non-factor. When he gets a chance, he's not going to score it, most likely. That was his 21st cap, and he has 2 goals. That is a bad output for a striker with the amount of time he has gotten, because he really hasn't had like 10-minute cameos. Like, he's been, in most scenarios, he's been starting or getting a good chunk of time. Guys like Promise David, Theo Bair, Even Kyle Larin over the last little bit, they aren't getting much time to make an impact. Daniel O'Shea, he is getting a lot of time and a lot of chances, and he is not making an impact, in my opinion, that would suffice him being a starting striker for a team in the World Cup. Never mind a team that right now has options. And I think that's what's concerning too, is on paper we have options. And yeah, maybe we give Promise David and Theo Bair the exact same amount of time as Taniela Washahi, and they have the same problems. They don't score, they miss chances, what have you. But we don't know because we haven't seen it. And by the way, Promise David has played a lot less than Taniela Washahi and now has 3 international goals. He's outscored Oluwaseyi in way less time and way less caps. And this isn't like a Tanny hate train. Because in all fairness, I've pretty well spread the negative thoughts here pretty evenly. But it's just concerning when you see a striker and you go, yeah, he's probably not scoring today. Yeah. And it makes sense. He's not going to score. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, so our out of form Jonathan David, lock in, score some, that'll kind of bring us to an end for the strikers for now. I'm sure once I get talking about Promise David, I'll probably talk about more striking stuff. But we'll move into the substitutes. I already kind of touched upon Waterman and Cornelius. I'm really not pleased that Cornelius played, less so that he got injured. I love Cornelius, don't get me wrong. I love seeing Cornelius play. I don't love the fact that he did play because now he is injured potentially. Hopefully it's nothing serious. I thought Joel Waterman looked good. He always comes on with the dog in him. I really love that. He's been that player for me. I think my opinion on him this year has changed the most of any guy in our team because he's really won me over this year. I really have become a fan of Joel Waterman. So Joel, if you're listening, just know you made a fan. You made a fan this year. In the 64th, we had 2 changes, Jacob Schaffelberg and Mathieu Choinière. Schaffelberg kind of suffered from the Jaden Nelson syndrome, whereas he really wasn't super involved in the game, but when he was on the ball, it felt like maybe of all the attackers on the pitch, maybe he might do something. He got in behind a couple of defenders, Venezuelan defenders, not many times, but a few times. So maybe you're thinking maybe he can make them pay, whatnot. It doesn't happen, but I don't think he wasn't bad. I don't think he wasn't great. But he was pretty well uninvolved. When he was involved, he looked like maybe, another person I was really disappointed. Mathieu Choinière. I thought this was really one of his worst caps for us. I don't think he was that good. He came in, he looked kind of rusty. He looked not really up for it, and he got booked within minutes of being on just from kind of just being lazy, really. He wasn't finding himself in the right positions, makes a lazy foul. He wasn't really retaining the ball. Especially when you're brought on in that scenario to hold up possession, retain the ball, get some passes going, string some passes together, maybe carry the ball a little bit. It was a very disappointing outing for Mathieu Choinière. I don't think he was great in my opinion. Which is disappointing because I've sang the praises of Mathieu Choinière many a time. But yeah, this just wasn't really his day. In the 75th, we had the triple change. Promise David came on for Jonathan David. Happy to see Promise David get a run out. I would like to see both him and Theo Bair get more than just, pity minutes, it feels like. These guys are in red hot form. Promise David has been in red hot form for a year and a half now. Theo Bair is back in red hot form, but we did this last time he was in red hot form. We fumbled him, and I think we're going to fumble him again. I'm talking about when he came off of that Motherwell season, and then we didn't really play him. And now he's doing great in Switzerland, and it really doesn't feel like we're going to be using him. I think that's a mistake. I think you need to strike while the iron's hot, give these guys a chance. It's a friendly, why not? But, I'm just saying the same things I've said many a time. And Jonathan Osorio came on for Tajon Buchanan. He looked decent. I'm glad he got a cap. I don't think, once again, he not much time to work with here either. But he held the ball up nicely a couple of times at least. He came on. Him and Saliba came on, and they really helped retain possession, which is, I think, my gripe with Choinière, whereas it really didn't feel like he retained possession. These two kind of came on. It felt like they did. So yeah, that brings me to the best Saliba in world football, Nathan Saliba. Yeah, he came on, helped retain possession, and yeah, that's really about that's about all I have to say, honestly. I thought this was a disappointing way to end the year, performance-wise. Result-wise, at least they got the result. And hey, you know what? Come the World Cup, I'm not going to care how we play if we win. So, I'm being really hard on them right now. And you better believe I'm going to be the biggest hypocrite if we play even worse than this and scrape some results in the World Cup. But that's a bit different circumstance. But regardless, I just want to see us play well and get good results. I don't think that's too much to ask for. I feel like it's either one or the other. We either play well but fall short, whether it's getting a draw or losing, or we play poorly but yet we get the result, i.e. like a win, which feels backwards in my opinion. I just feel like I'm concerned heading into this World Cup, and I think we'll talk more about my concerns come when I do the 2025 Wrapped. So yeah, I think that's when I'll kind of get more so into this, just because I also feel like I've ranted a lot for a win. It feels very much like a spoiled brat throwing a fit because I didn't get what I wanted out at a Walmart, But yeah, I just think overall good result, i.e. good that we got the win, but everything outside of that, very disappointing evening. But hey, maybe you disagree with me. Let me know. If you're listening to this on YouTube, comment, do the fun things, comment. Tell me why I'm wrong and why you think this was a great performance. Or maybe you agree with me and you also are kind of concerned going into this World Cup, despite the fact that our boys have showed multiple times that they can play really well. I mean, this same international break, we had a great performance, I thought. So we have shown many a time that we can play well. But yeah, let me know what you thought of this game. If you're listening to this on a different streaming platform, hit me up on socials at MapleFootyPod. Get a conversation going over there. And yeah, outside of that, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Maybe you enjoyed the game too. I mean, I really didn't, and I love watching these games, but that wasn't my favorite. But hey, maybe me ranting made you feel a little bit better. And at the end of the day, maybe that's all I want Maple Footy to be. A place where we can all just feel better together, But yeah, I hope that wasn't too negative for a 2-0 loss. But anyways, thank you so much for listening. I have some very exciting episodes going to be dropping very soon. I have an interview I've been sitting on for quite some time. Ooh, little tease there. So that'll be coming out next week. So I'm really looking forward to that. I didn't want to release it because I didn't want it to get buried within all the Canada talk, but now Canada talk is about to be over. So I'm very much looking forward to releasing this interview. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hint, it's from a player playing out with Vancouver FC, so that's really cool. First player not on Forge, so that's kind of fun. But yeah, thank you so much. Stick around for that interview to be dropping. You don't want to miss it. It's a very good one. I really enjoyed this one. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, cheers, everyone.
And that was your Maple Footy podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Check my socials for any and all future updates. Remember to support Canadian football, be kind, and until next time, live, laugh, little.